Make sure my hands on.
Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes, and some would say it's already went down. You know, said the NBA trade deadline has come and passed and it did not whimper by. Some would say it's about to go down because we're 2 days away from Super Bowl Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. He is Mr. Logical. I am 2-5. We are everywhere you get your podcasts. So like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things, liquid death in hand, and join us as we talk about the Super Bowl. We talk about these awards and Hall of Fame inductees, and of course that trade deadline. So let's get right to it, Mr. Logical. First, how excited are you for this game?
I'm a little bit more excited than the rest of the sports media world.
Okay.
Like I said 2 weeks ago, before we had the NFC AFC Championship game preview, I was like, Seattle, New England, just so I can see the replay of the game and the play where Tom Brady got his 4th Super Bowl ring and the Malcolm Butler interception and Tom Brady gave him the MVP truck. I thought they were going to be talking about that all the time. Marshawn Lynch is a bona fide personality star. I thought he would have been everywhere. Tom Brady's already on TV all the time. I just felt like it easily could have just rolled out all like the personalities that were associated with that game. Russell Wilson, his wife's a famous, singer. Pete Carroll, famous coach. Then I just felt like it could have been just everywhere. And I've hardly seen any social media posts. I'm getting more like post about the Pro Bowl and the flag football, and like we'll talk about the awards and teams post about the awards. Then I'm getting about the Super Bowl. I've been, we're in a couple of sports group chats, not a lot of chatter about the Super Bowl there. I don't know if it's just people just didn't think it was the exciting matchup that they wanted. But if you can hand pick your matchup, like what would it have been? Like, I mean, if you don't think this New England dynasty potentially coming back in less than a few years, considering there's teams that haven't won playoff games in 7, 8, 9, 24 years, 25 years. So it's like, is that more compelling, or is it the Sam Darnold indictment on the Jets? So like, you guys couldn't make it work, and then the Panthers, you couldn't make it work. He goes to San Francisco, learns from Kyle Shanahan. Another reason why I think he was coach of the year, but we'll get to that. And then he goes to Minnesota. Minnesota completely falls off the map with J.J. McCarthy. I think he completed like 38% of his passes. Meanwhile, they won 13 or 14 games with Sam Darnold. Is that story not, thrilling enough to have a conversation about? I'm not sure what the fan wants. I'm not sure what the sports media space wants, because like these stories write themselves, but yet no one's writing about them.
Well, because it's one of those things that it's the Super Bowl we never thought we would see. If this was Rams Bills, they'd be going crazy right now. If this was Eagles, Eagles Chiefs again, they'd be going nuts. I want to pick up where you left off because Sam Darnold is the story of overcoming that you write books about. We were just a few years ago, he was on Monday Night Football talking about how he saw a ghost.
Correct.
And here he is. If this was Baker Mayfield, the media would be going nuts. What up, Mike? The media would be going nuts. You know what I mean? If it was Baker Mayfield, just off of his personality and all that kind of stuff like that.
But the
I
fact
think,
that it's New England should be enough. Like the fact that if you
but
pulled
it's
up
not
one of those
Belichick.
maps, but it's New England and
It's
people hate
not
New
Brady.
England, and it's but they are
Nobody
people
cares
rooting for
about New
New England?
England before 2001. How many Patriot fans did you even know existed? You know what I mean?
Real talk, zero.
Yeah, the only thing I knew about Boston was New Edition and the Celtics. You know what I mean? That was all that was going on in the world at that time. But the Patriots, they had made a Super Bowl before. Tom Brady, they got crushed by the Bears. And then from that point on, they were just like a poverty franchise. So now they came around, people got excited about it. They became the dynasty that everybody hated. But now this is the new chapter. No Belichick, no Brady. People seem to like Drake May a lot. I like Drake May a lot.
I mean, he
But
might be the most wholesome dude. Him and what's the boy name of Indiana?
Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, they might be the two most wholesome athletes on earth.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I want to see Drake May against this defense. That's first and foremost. You know what I mean? Second of all, I just want to see this defense. Third of all, I want to see the guy that I think should have been MVP, JSN. So I'm excited about the Super Bowl for different reasons because I think this is going to be a tight defensive game. And I know that doesn't sell and move the needle. People want to see 31-27, all that. You think that, Mike? Okay. So I think that we're going to get a definitive Super Bowl win. And now, you go into next year, you got to wonder if are either one of these teams going to make it back, or was this their chance and now it's over? So that's exciting within itself. Is this the beginning of something special? Or do
I
they
think
stop
the thing
it?
about the Super Bowl appearance in general and why teams don't generally get back is because there are playmakers and key components that either leave in free agency, demand a bigger check, and normally get it based off even getting there or winning, or your coordinators kind of get poached to go to other teams to be the repair that other teams need. So that's why you don't really see teams repeat unless you're able to keep your core, your Kansas City, Philly.
Or unless you got a wide receiver that will complain and won't catch the ball when it's thrown his way.
That happens too. Back. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Logical. Let's get to it. Who wins this game and why?
I was actually talking to my son. He's not a big sports fan at all, but we're gonna hopefully I can dig my smoker out of the snow and I can, smoke some meat paws and have a nice little Super Bowl party. And he's gonna be here because at first he's gonna go to New York. So I was like, hey, you gonna be here? Give me your everything you need. And he's like, what team are you rooting for? And I was like, well, I mean, I should hate the Patriots because I'm a Falcons fan. A lot of people do hate the Patriots. But then in the same sense, it's like Seattle has the better defense. And New England has been playing that great offensively the last few games. And then you had the week off. So all your last film has basically been your defense has been holding people in place. So I picked against Seattle against Denver, going with the ideology that the better offense was going to be able to outgun the better defense.
Yes, they do.
My mother told me to pick up people's good habits, not their bad habits. So when I learned from smart people like yourself that
everybody
day,
gets
you
lit up
picked
by the
Seattle.
Rams. Yeah.
I am going to go with Seattle.
Okay.
I think it's going to be. It won't be San Francisco Seattle playoff game where like Drake May's running for his life. But I do think if they play anything like the offense they played against Denver, and I know the snow came, but before the snow, they weren't doing anything anyway. And then until this new reversal, change your mind without throwing a challenge flag, new referee system we got going on here that doesn't seem to be within the parameters of rules, but seems to be executed in live on TV because they ruled it as a incomplete pass, which stopped the play. Then they ruled it as incomplete pass, stopped the play, upheld that, and then changed it to a backwards pass recovered by New England. And then New England got the short touchdown off of that. And then it started snowing. But before then, they hadn't had any first downs. And I imagine, Denver's defense is up there in the top 5 with Seattle's defense. So I like this is not a road game, it's a neutral game. It's not the same thing. Like you're not taking the wind out of sails of granted, if it was in Seattle, that's tough, but it's on the West Coast. That's one thing. But I'm gonna go with Seattle. Because it's a Super Bowl and because, I think New England's going to play smart. I don't think they're going to kill themselves. I'm going to give it a 24-14, 24-13. It seems like a blowout. I just feel like the back and forth. I think Seattle breaks through a couple more times for touchdown drives, whereas New England doesn't. New England's going to punt when they can't convert 3rd and 8, and I think Seattle, on a couple more drives, is going to convert that 3rd and 8, which is going to lead to points, which is, like I said, 24-13.
See, the funny thing about that is we haven't said the name Sam one time in this part of the conversation.
It's just, it's not about, I don't think, because, okay, if you look at Sam Darnold, if you think, okay, you can't trust Sam Darnold, that's predicated on Sam Darnold and the Jets with the Mark Sanchez defense. Like Sam Darnold was not. Listen what I'm saying. Listen back.
We don't know ball. We don't know ball.
Boy, stop. Listen.
I love how y'all act like y'all the only people that watch football. I love it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is this. The Mark Sanchez AFC Championship Jets defense, you knew they got there on the backs of that defense. Sam Darnold and with the Jets wasn't making these plays on 3rd down, wasn't finding, the offensive player of the year. They're running 3 tight ends. Kenneth Walker III is running like a man with his hair on fire. It's not just Sam Darnold making a mistake because I think they're going to run the ball. I know Charbonnet's out, but they were running with the 3rd string guy. So I think that Mike McDonald, conservative coach, defensive coach, like I said, I just think that Seattle's going to convert a couple more 3rd and 8s. I don't think it's going to be Sam Darnold go out here going 24 for 29, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then Drake Mays going 13 for 25, 120 yards. I just think that the little moments in the game where Seattle has a greater quality key offensive threat than New England. I think he'll just find him in those moments, and that's going to lead to points.
See, this is the thing, and I don't know why we got to live. Oh, that's a lie, Mike. If we ain't watched the Patriots, you ain't watched the Seahawks. So this is the problem. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why we got to live like this, where we point out the worst thing that happens. Like Mike's like, hey, the Rams lit up Seattle. The Rams light up a lot of teams. Yeah. Buffalo put up 35 on New England. And I wasn't even going to bring that up until you just said this. You know what I'm saying? No, not Jake Bobo. Shaheed, who has been the difference maker since they got him. Now, the one thing that you are right about so far is that Christian Gonzalez is going to give JSN a hard time. He's got the long arms. He's physical. And the last time we saw JSN go up against receivers like that, corners like that, was that second game against the Rams on Thursday night. Manny Forbes and those guys held them without a catch throughout the first half. You know what I mean? But they played the Rams 2 weeks ago, and we just saw how that reversed. So now, saying, I don't think Seattle's going to blow out New England. I don't think
24-13 is a blowout. I just think that it'll be 17-13 early in the 4th, and Seattle just going to convert. Like, I mean, it's going to be
So
something like that where like the game is going to be close. It's just that when you need a 3rd and 8, I just think that Seattle has the guys that are going to be able to get you that 3rd and 8.
yeah. So I don't think New England's going to be able to run the ball consistently. So to Mike's point about Seattle not having a number 2, it's not like New England's wide receivers light things on fire. Keyshawn Butte, has come through this season. He's had a good season. Stephon Diggs is still like crafty, but a lot of these guys aren't going to get the separation necessary without the help of the run game. Now, said number 2, Seattle in that cover 9 is going to force New England to keep everything, or they're going to make New England keep everything in front of their defense. So yes, he has, so lots of seams, lots of throws up the seam, lots of flood concepts, maybe some slants. That's going to be New England's bread and butter if they can make it happen. Now, as far as when Seattle has the ball, their running game has come on as of late, and I do think that Milton Williams and Barrymore are going to shut that down. So I do. So I think this game is going to be a rock fight. This is going to be one of those games that people are going to be upset about. Yeah, Josh Allen won, or Josh McDaniel won Assistant Coach of the Year. But it's one of those things where it's going to be one of those games that people are upset about. This ain't the Super Bowl I want. Why is it 13-13 in the fourth quarter?
Halftime's going to be 13-10.
Yeah,
it's going to be like 14-10 or something like that at halftime.
But this is what the Patriots won. But this is what the Patriots won. They've thrived. They've thrived off of being doubted all year. You know what I mean? So they got that going for them. And you know what I mean? On top of that, they only give up 71 yards rushing on the ground per game. But the part that Mike forgot to mention was that Drake May has been sacked 15 times in these here playoffs. That's 3 games. That's 5 sacks per game. And I'm supposed to believe that Seattle can't get to him?
And Myles Garrett got him 5 times in the game where they beat Cleveland by a couple of possessions. And he still got to him 5 times.
So you can't run the ball. So you're not going to be able to run the ball very well, in my estimation. You can't protect your quarterback. So New England's going to have to win this game. It don't matter who it was against. You didn't care that the Rams scored all those points on Seattle as one of the top offenses in the league. You didn't care, so we don't do that here, right? So I think that this game is going to be 13-13 with about, say, 9 minutes left. Houston and Denver are not better than the Seahawks. I think that Seattle's going to go down for a field goal, and ironically, Adam Vinatieri, the Patriots. Yeah. So I like a 16-13 game. Seattle defense and Denver's defense are similar from the fact that they attack you from all the levels. When I look at Houston, Houston, you got to remember they put up them stats against the Colts, without, Daniel Jones, against Tennessee. They were
formidable up front. Their linebackers are relentless. Like, was it Tua or number 39? I can't pronounce his name. And then you have Al Sharif. And then obviously the creative player Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson, Stingley on the outside. I think Houston's defense was formidable. It's just that C.J. Stroud couldn't move the ball. I think if C.J. Stroud could have moved the ball, or if he would have had all of his horses, then maybe I think they would have given New England a better challenge on the offensive side of the ball and making their defense kind of work a little harder. I don't think any team in the playoffs so far, and I'm not saying because they beat the Chargers or they beat the Texans or they beat Denver, but I don't think any of those teams made them work that much harder defensively. I think the Denver game, they probably worked a lot harder because it was a close game and they weren't creating that many turnovers and it was snowing. So it was one bad mistake like they made in the first quarter where Gonzo thought he had help on the inside and the safety's looking the wrong way and he took the underneath route and then Mims ran right by Gonzo. They shored that up and didn't make those mistakes in the second half, but they also had the weather which is part of football when it's outside. Keep that in mind as you guys are planning these.
And don't be surprised if Darnold
outside.
catch Davis peeking in that backfield too, because he gambles a lot. Don't be surprised if he catches him with a double move, and that'll be Shaheed going up the sideline. Besides the field position game, we got to talk about that, right? Shaheed in the kickoff return game, in the punt return game. Ever since he's got to Seattle, he's been the difference maker that probably turned their season around. I don't know if they're here right now without that pickup.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, I'm never going to tell somebody you're wrong for picking another team. But
no, not at all.
I just want you to pick the team that you're picking based off what you think that team's going to do versus what you think another team's not going to do, because it's like, because if you still have to evaluate what's your team going to do. If you think Sam Darnold isn't going to be ready for the moment, I could be like, well, Drake May, can't even run a car yet. I mean, he just started buying beer last year. Like let's keep it like he's very young as well, and he had a very pedestrian season. We're not saying that if you like them, that's fine, but liking them,
we're not saying the
that
Patriots
Seattle
are bums
is
or
going to
anything.
fall short because it's like we're not saying that they're bums. They're in the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna go with this easy path to the Super Bowl because it takes a lot. Like everybody has to stay healthy. Your linemen have to stay healthy. Ask Justin Herbert. You have to have quality play in the trenches. Certain teams didn't have that in the middle, and they were getting gashed. Think about the 49ers. I mean, Seattle was a number one seed. They won a division and had 3 teams that were in the playoffs. So it's like they're a quality team, and they didn't just kind of slide into the playoffs either. So they are a formidable opponent as well. I just feel like when you match up everything, if you just put it in a simulator, it's like, okay, I have the more experienced quarterback who's been through some shit. Okay, I'm gonna go check Sam Darnold because the last 2 years he's won 30 football games. I mean, those are numbers you can't dispute. The last 2 years he's won 30 football games, and the team he left is probably looking to draft another quarterback this year if they're not pot committed to JJ McCarthy. So that's the thing that you have to factor in. They have the offensive player of the year. They have a coach of the year candidate that was Mike. Would you say he was second or third?
Cohen was second. Mike McDonald was third. Yeah,
third. So they have the coach of the year candidate. They have they got one of your boys from Dallas, Marcus Ware, out there is seeing Super Bowl. So they have talent up front. Leonard Williams, another guy that was on the Jets, the other USC product. I think the size of their defensive backfield. I mean, they got a bunch of corners that run 4.35s that are also 6'3" and a half.
Don't forget about Eamon Wardy on the loose.
Eamon Wardy, yeah, it's like they have the type of speed that college teams have in their defensive backfield to make up for mistakes. So I don't know. I like what Seattle just has, and I think defense travels. I think it's just easier to put your defensive game plan in place because the ball can only go one place at a time. So if you're hitting your keys, you're flowing to the spot, and you are there where the ball is, I think you can make things happen. And I think defensively, it's easier to just kind of prepare versus expecting the offense that hasn't been clicking over the last few weeks just to snap it on when they're playing another top 5 defense. 4 out of the last 4 straight games against top 5 defenses is tough, especially when you weren't scoring that many points against the other defense.
Which is crazy too, because this is so ironic. You know what I mean? Because, like Mike said, he wasn't about Drake May. I was the one that told him about Drake May. And now, said, this is the thanks that I get, Mike, for your fantasy football team. You know what I mean? But of course, last night we had the awards show that apparently nobody liked. I didn't watch it, but, apparently nobody liked it. But first, before we get to the awards, let's talk Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Because I know Mike mad as hell. Adam Vinatieri got into the Hall of Fame.
All I'm saying is that every once in a while, I nail it.
So Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Adam Vinatieri, Roger Craig, and Luke Kuechly.
Yep. So my three locks that we talked about on Tuesday all got in. Roger Craig, when he came around the corner, I was like, he was probably one of the first running backs that I could remember. Like when I was young, I liked Icky Woods because he did the Icky Shuffle. But I remember Roger Craig and thinking to myself, every time I saw him touch the ball, I felt like he didn't get tackled. It's just something about the when he would get the ball. I just felt like he was like the first big play guy I remember. And I'm thinking like 6 or 7 when they played the Bengals in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, we would have been
The one where John
six,
Taylor
turning 7.
yeah, 6 or 7 when John Taylor caught the slant pass. Him and John Rothman and so obviously Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. I always thought that he was like the X factor. Like I don't know if I used that word. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but I just remember thinking like this guy was like almost untouchable. So for him to be, playing in the '80s when I'm 6 years old and he's in the NFL Hall of Fame and I'm damn near 45 is like they got to figure out this system. Something something has to you gotta tighten it up somewhere because Drew Brees.
Well, the problem is TV.
Drew Brees had the same kind of playoff and I'm not saying Drew Brees didn't have the same impact as Roger Craig, but I think Roger Craig is what you want all running backs to be now, even though that might not be that running back strong suit. Like Adrian Peterson, I remember when he got drafted, he doesn't really catch out of the backfield. He's not supposed to. It's not a catching back. He's a running back. Give him the stretch play and let him turn it upfield. But I think everyone's kind of wants to mold their guy after Roger Craig.
Well, yeah, the 49ers had it, right? Because it was Roger Craig, then came Ricky Waters, Garrison Hurst, and then look at CMC now, So, there would be no CMC without Roger Craig. That's first and foremost.
There'd be no Bijan. Bijan's numbers this year were basically this is what – if Roger Craig was playing in today's NFL, his numbers would be like that. With the amount of time they pass and split the wide receiver, the running back.
Yeah, so Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne, I'm sorry, you got to wait another year. I thought Terrell Suggs might have had a chance, but I didn't think he was going to get in this year, so that lines up. But next year is crazy. Ben Roethlisberger comes to the ballot. Adrian Peterson comes to the ballot. Richard Sherman comes to the ballot. Gronk comes to the ballot. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be tough out here in these streets to get in this Hall of Fame.
The problem that's gonna hurt. I thought Torrey Holt should have been in a while ago.
Yes,
because he was. We know there's different eras. I know people like to bring up stuff like, Dak Prescott already has more passing yards than Tony Romo and Troy Aikman, but it's a different era. They didn't throw the ball the same. I just feel as if I'm the Hall of Fame, there should be a stipulation where you mark it the same way we mark, Gen X, Gen Z, Millennials, Gen Alpha, Baby Boomers. There's these lines of demarcation. I think they got to take that, put that line, separate the vote. Because if you're trying to compare. First of all, you got guys that are going to play 11, 12, 13 years in NFL, probably from here on out. A good player is going to play about 10 years. I think CMC is probably about 9 or 10 or so, and he's still performing pretty well. Trent Williams. So Jamar Chase is probably already at 4 or 5.
He got drafted in 2017.
So CMC. So he's going on, probably look like he's going on to his 10th season.
Yeah.
So you're going to get these guys that are going to have these monstrous numbers because they're going to play about 10 years. They're going to average about 1,000, the 1,200 yards, 6 or 7, 8 touchdowns. The numbers are going to be crazy. So the longer Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne and guys like that sit, Justin Jefferson's numbers when he retires are going to be crazy. So if they're still sitting and waiting,
they might end up like Roger Craig. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Because like I said, I gave you the names. Well, like I said, I gave you the names of who's coming next year. Some of those players that are coming next year.
Every quarterback. So Matt Stafford, whenever he's retired, that's
but the year after. But the year after. But the year after,
they go waste the spot on.
It's going to be Tom Brady.
I hope they don't.
Well, you got Tom Brady and J.J. Watt the year after that. So you know what I mean? Like both of them are first ballot.
You can go ahead and lock one of the two in.
Yeah. Terrell Suggs he might get in next year. We'll see. There's a lot of finalists that, I just wonder about, because
does Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, do they count towards the 5?
No.
Or is it just players?
It's just players.
So
that's why we don't get more Hall of Famers, because you got to have enough time and not be disrespectful, for them to have their moment on the stage and everything. So if you get 8 players up there, you got to chop down that your time budget goes down.
Listen, NFL games go about 3 hours on the clock. They start at 1. The next game starts at 4:25. People sit through that. They can sit through.
I don't know. Well, I can tell you, I've never watched the Hall of Fame in my life.
I watched the Hall of Fame game. I never watched the speech, but they can get their opportunity. I went to Howard University graduation in 1992. I sat out there in the Washington, D.C. sun, listened to all those speeches for 3 hours. They can listen to these guys talk about themselves and their families and cry snot bubbles with their golden jackets on like they deserve. It shouldn't be a logistics thing to where they need to we got to worry about TV. Because if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. I will stand on the top of this mountain and scream to anyone who comes to me, Eli Manning is not a Hall of Famer. And I know a bunch of Giant fans. A lot of them, my family, a lot of my friends are Giant fans. I'm like, he is not a Hall of Famer. He had a Hall of Fame caliber run twice in the playoffs. Other than that, it was complete Hall of mediocrity. You can look up the word mediocre, it also means average. So he's going to steal a spot, potentially. I don't think he should. He's going to steal one. And because he steals one, you're going to give Roethlisberger one. Phillip Rivers reset his clock, even though he's not a Hall of Famer either. The Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan conundrum, whenever that comes up, because Matt Ryan's gonna have to sit for a while. But
if he gets
that's gonna be another conversation. That's gonna be another conversation. It's like, well,
because that's the problem. Because all these dudes,
these were the numbers.
Well, all these dudes are gonna have numbers, right? So let me give you a little context real quick before we move on to the awards. So, I was talking to, one of our brethren. Yeah, that Matt Ryan. And he was telling me a little while ago, this was a couple years ago, and he told me 50,000 is going to be the number. You know what I mean? If you get 50,000 yards, you get into the Hall of Fame. This is the problem. So you already got
Matt Liner got 50,000.
Well, you already got 12 dudes that have it, right? But this is the problem. Dudes like Russell Wilson got 46. He ain't going to get the 50, but I'm just making a point here. Kirk Cousins is at 44. Jared Goff got drafted in 2016 and is already at 39,000 yards. So 50,000 ain't impressive. You might have to get to 60. And even then, it's still going to be the era. It's still going to like right now as we sit here having this conversation. Andy Dalton, for example, is less than 200 yards off of Joe Montana. You know what I mean? Tell me that makes sense. So that's why you can't just use the numbers. Like the numbers are going to look pretty and everything.
That's why I said they're gonna have to redraw the districting lines. I know they're famous for doing that, but you're gonna have to really just lock it in and say, okay, these guys, we're gonna simple Air Force promotion system. You get ranked among your peers. We're all going up for this stripe. But you're only competing against these people. This is your job. I was a avionics troop, and then I was a KC-10 crew chief. I did not get ranked against the Intel guy. At the base for local awards, Intel was part of the group. So when I went up for group awards, everybody got rated that way. But when it came down to you getting promoted, you getting this upper echelon position, you got ranked against people in your common Air Force Specialty Code, also known as AFSC. So if I'm Torrey Holt or Reggie Wayne, I want the people who played in my era. I want you to set a date. Either it's from 1994 to 2006. If you retired in this window, this era, like these were the parameters of the guys who got in here. 2006 to 2015, whatever the numbers are. But it's like there are definitely lines of demarcation where offense change. When did they get rid of the fullback? So if I'm a fullback and I'm on the Hall of Fame finalist list, if I'm the last of the fullbacks and they don't have any more, then I think that should be taken into consideration. Like, hey, my position's not even out there anymore.
Yeah,
like,
and
I
Torrey
don't think
Holt,
so many teams. Yeah,
and Torrey Holt's top 20 in yards, top 10 in receiving yards per game. So that just speaks to the consistency, yards per game. So I just don't understand it. Reggie Wayne, I thought might have got a sympathy Peyton Manning stimulus out of it because, Andre Johnson made it in. And, Andre Johnson has numbers, but I don't think of him, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I mean, he's 11th all time on the receiving yard list, but I don't think of Andre Johnson as.
I don't see his moment. Other than punching Courtney Finnegan.
Yeah, I mean.
Let's keep it. Like, I'm not trying to be, like, dismissive of him, but it's like, as far as this NFL, and I feel the same way about Megatron. I think Megatron had Hall of Fame level physical attributes and performance, but there was never a Hall of Fame moment. You know what I mean? Like, and I know Eli, I bash Eli for his 8 games, but if Eli's overall record was 178 and 128, I'm like, all right. But his record is like 119 and 119 or something like that.
And 118, yeah.
118 and 118. So it's like, okay, I can. And I think Megatron, granted, the wins and losses don't go on the shoulders of wide receivers. I just felt like it was one of those, like, he was so dominant that it was like, oh, he's definitely in the Hall of Fame. But T.O., I thought had more moments. I thought T.O. playing on a broken leg in the Super Bowl and being the best player on the field. That's from Eric Mangini, who was a New England assistant. He was like, I stood on that sideline. I could tell you this. Terrell Owens was the best football player in that field, and he was doing it on a broken leg. That's a Hall of Fame moment. He still had to wait till he was a third down.
But Calvin Johnson, I think for him, to your point about being dominant, he did his damage in 9 years.
But they felt sorry for him for being in Detroit. A lot of guys put up numbers. Torrey Holt put up numbers.
Yeah, he did.
He probably put up more numbers than Megatron.
He did.
I think it's
but he also he played 2 extra years.
And he's undersized. Megatron, like I said, we talk about this all the time. Most people don't have that many friends in their life that are like 6'5", 240 pounds. It's just those people just aren't everywhere. So Megatron being that big and that talented and being able to do it, he was one of one. Torrey Holt might be a strong 5'11", 205, 210 when he played. If that.
They got him listed. They got him listed at 6 foot 200.
Yeah. So that means he's 5'11", 188. And he was doing that same damage.
And he played right across from a Hall of Famer too. You know what I'm saying? So that's the other, like just like Reggie Wayne, right? You overshadowed by who you played across from. Because, Isaac Bruce, of course,
Marvin Harrison was more like Torrey Holt. Marvin Harrison was the smaller guy, the craftier guy, the guy that can get in and out. But AB's another guy that would easily been in the Hall of Fame if he would have kept his social life intact. Hall of Fame, no doubt.
Easily. He's the closest thing to Jerry Rice I've seen. You know.
So, and he once again undersized. So I think that factors in. I think it probably factored in for Drew Brees to be, but he also had like ridiculous streaks, like the amount of games he threw touchdowns and his touchdown interception ratio and all the
Drew
yards.
Brees had like 80,000 yards.
Yeah, like he just had like it just was like, yeah, and you were sent away by one team and you rejuvenated an entire city post a damn near pseudo apocalypse. Like what he did was like, okay, I knew he was going to get in. But yeah, like
He
who you
finished with like
surprised really on
9,000 yards more than Brett Favre.
who you surprised last night didn't get to walk around that corner?
If I would say, so I do believe that both Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne should get in, but I wasn't surprised that they didn't.
Yeah,
I was shocked by Suggs because I love Luke Kuechly, and Luke Kuechly deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. No knock against him by any means. You know what I mean? But Suggs got a lot of the same things that he got and more. You know what I mean? Because of how long he played. So like, I thought they should have both got in, but I thought that Kuechly would get the
who would
nod.
you have taken off to get Suggs in out of the 5?
See, that's the problem. Nobody. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Because there's too many of them. I wouldn't take any of them off because Roger Craig should have been in the Hall of Fame. So I'm not going to take him off. You know what I mean? Drew Brees, like I said, 80,000 yards. You know what I'm saying? Larry Fitzgerald, more tackles than drops.
Yeah, I think Larry Fitzgerald probably would have been the only one, I think, because Suggs has the Defensive Player of the Year and a Super Bowl ring. And Larry Fitzgerald,
he was this close to a Super Bowl ring.
So close. I still don't think Santonio Holmes got both feet down. I'll argue that to the day I die. But he did make the play in that Super Bowl. Maybe he scored too quickly. Maybe he should have slid at the 1.
Yeah.
Hindsight being 2020. He just was the consummate professional. And I think that probably weighed more. Like his performance was exceptional, but I think just as a man and a representative of the sport it was on par with his exceptional like actual game performance. So that was easy. I just felt like he was always gonna get in. So if it was close and he was like, and you were gonna vote Suggs or Fitzgerald, and it's like, you know what? If I'm the vote, I can get Suggs in. I think Fitzgerald will be the guy. Maybe Vinatieri, but I just Vinatieri's impact on the dynasty and then essentially what he gave Peyton Manning. He locked in Peyton Manning's half of Peyton Manning's Super Bowl victories because Mike Vanderjagt couldn't do it. We've seen all the games where special teams just kind of cut Peyton Manning's opportunity out from under him, and sometimes a little bit of poor performance as well. But I think Vinatieri was like I said, he was my lock. I just don't like the 5. I don't like the 5 players getting in, and I don't like the mixing of errors because, like I said, if you look at the numbers, Joe Namath has more career interceptions than touchdowns
by a lot.
I don't think any other quarterback in the Hall of Fame has that. But for what he did in his time and how they viewed what he did in that time, which I didn't live in that window. I didn't live in that time. So I don't know exactly what like that was, but obviously it was enough for them to put him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
All right. So courtesy of USA Today, we have the votes, the vote count for all the awards last night. So first things first, MVP. Literally 1 vote, got Matthew Stafford the MVP. But that's not where I want to start. I want to start under Trevor Lawrence. Right? I want to start under Trevor Lawrence. You see that parentheses there? Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert received the remaining first place vote, but did not finish among the top 5. So that's crazy within itself. And I'm sure a lot of people got thoughts on that.
I'm pretty sure this guy probably gonna lose his vote though. This guy
Sam. I don't think he should.
Well, you don't get.
Let's talk about it.
You don't get to vote for a guy because you feel sorry about the status of his offensive line.
No,
but that's what I'm saying. He's like, okay. I was a Justin Herbert vote. This is from Sam Munson at Sam Munson NFL on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. I was a Justin Herbert vote. The guy had the worst offensive line in NFL. I mentioned that a lot, which is very true. all season. Despite that, he was working miracles in almost every single game. Stafford's O line became 2/5 as bad as Herbert's for 5 minutes, and he became a turnover howitzer. I understand that you are writing for your guy in this particular moment. But I think people do that, and I think they misuse the word valuable. And then they try to apply it to this award. That's not what the award is. And I know I always get, I'm always up here talking about what's the truth and logical and fact and everything else. But MVP is MOP, most outstanding player. It has been every year. That normally goes to the guy who's on one of the top tier teams that wins. I understand what MVP means, but the award goes to generally the most outstanding player. So when a quarterback especially has that many touchdowns interception ratio, they don't talk about how good or bad his offensive line is. They talk about how well he got the ball to the wide receivers. It's just that is the narrative that is surrounding this award forever. Hence why wide receivers never get it or never really get votes, because they say, well, his value is attached to the quarterback throwing him the ball. Now, Tom Brady getting Randy Moss, Tom Brady threw for 50 touchdowns that year. He had never thrown for that many touchdowns or even was close to that. Randy Moss caught 23 of them. Who was MVP that year? Tom Brady. Who was more valuable to Tom Brady getting those 50 touchdowns? Was it Tom or was it Randy? It was Randy.
So there's a lot to unpack there. So you know me. Look, MVP has no definition. MVP has all the definitions, because MVP is an individual thought held by every single person that is talking about it. So what you value, I may not value. What Munson values, other voters don't value. So I don't have a problem with him if he truly believed that Justin Herbert deserved the vote. I don't have a problem with it. Vote what you believe. And he at least came public. He at least came public with it and said why he felt that way. A lot of them don't do that. So I'm giving him credit for that, even though I disagree with him vehemently. But at the same time,
let me co-sign that, because you taught me something. I agree with that part as well. He stood on the business, so I gotta respect it.
Now to your other point about how the MVP it goes to the most outstanding player. You know what I mean? And somebody has to stand up. And I'm not saying that this guy was trying to do that, but somebody has to stand up against the system, because Derrick Henry should have got an MVP. Saquon should have got it last year, probably. I think that there's CMC should have got it 2 years ago. There's other people that should have got.
I think MVP, Josh Allen should have gotten it over Lamar Jackson 2 years ago, but not.
And Lamar probably should have got it over him
last year.
Yeah. So and that's why. But see, Mike, you doing that thing. It shouldn't matter that the Rams didn't win their division or not. You know what I mean? That shouldn't matter, because we're talking about the player and not the team. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the case, Sam Darnold should be the MVP then, since they won the division. And on top of that, it's hard for me to knock somebody that didn't win their division when they still won 12 games. So it's not like Seattle went 13-4 and the Rams went 9-8 and just happened to make the playoffs. They were separated by a game. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And so I don't believe
Joe Burrow last year, if the Bengals would have made the playoffs, I thought okay, not to cut you off, but it's like when you are in a position of where you are somewhat handicapped, something has to be exceptional. So Joe Burrow last year had a defense that was giving up points. I think it was like multiple games where they had scored 33 or more points and still lost. If he would have gotten that team to 9-8 and into the playoffs with those numbers, considering how poor that team had played and how many games that they were losing after, he was scored a 30 point, a 31st point, 33rd point, go to the bench, and get the ball back with 12 seconds left, down 35-33. And it's like, great. I went 28 for 31 this game, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, and you guys can't hold anybody up.
I don't understand. So if I can't give somebody MVP for one game, why are you trying to take away somebody's MVP for one game?
For one game.
You know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we focus on all these things, like they lost to the Panthers. They won 12 games and he led the league in passing. You know, like
his touchdown interception ratio was crazy. And he had
the Patriots lost to the
Steelers games.
You know what I mean? Like, these things happen. It's the NFL. You know what I mean? I'm not surprised that Trevor Lawrence didn't get a vote. And I'm not surprised that Christian McCaffrey didn't get a vote.
But that surprises me that his coach got as many votes for Coach of the Year.
Oh, we'll get there. Wait, we'll get there. So like with Christian McCaffrey, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't though. Like, Matt Stafford had the best season of any quarterback this season, and you're going back. And you're going back to other years. Like, so like, if this is just my opinion. I know that it doesn't always work out this way, but I don't care about last year. Like, just because they did this last year, they don't got to do that this year. Just because you did something wrong doesn't mean that you have to continue that same action. So just because Joe Namath got in the Hall of Fame, for example, doesn't mean that Kirk Cousins should get in. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, it's just one of those things. But anyway, I thought, and you know what I'm saying, like, and I'm going to stick with it, and I don't care what y'all say, you know what I'm saying? In my perfect world, JSN would have been MVP, and Puka would have been Offensive Player of the Year. So here we go. Offensive Player of the Year. Let's look at these votes. So JSN won with 14 votes. Christian McCaffrey second with 12. Puka with 8. Bijan with 6. And Drake May with 5. What do you think?
Shout out to Bijan for getting 6 votes. Like I said, he had the stat line of 1,400 rush yards and over 800 receiving yards. No one has ever done that. If the Falcons beat the Jets in that random December game that I didn't go to because it was raining and cold,
yeah,
they're 9-8. They win the division. I think he gets McCaffrey's votes if that happens, because I think he has such big games. He didn't have a big game against down the stretch against the Jets. He wasn't on the field a lot. Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris just kind of like not managing the personnel properly, because it was like I was looking at the game. I was like, why is Bijan not in the game? But I think that versus he gets more points. I don't like the quarterback in the Offensive Player of the Year thing, because you've already kind of. The NFL has let people know that, like,
you already got MVP for the quarterbacks.
Three out of 5 spots go to quarterbacks and MVP no matter what.
Right.
Penix wasn't like, I don't think Penix was the deal. Like, they lost to the Jets. Like, I don't care. I could have been quarterback and you still should have beat the Jets.
Yeah. Maybe.
But Bijan put up a lot of big numbers when Kirk Cousins, because Kirk didn't put up great numbers. Bijan had an outstanding year. They had outstanding games against the Rams and the Bills. I like Christian McCaffrey. I think they should just be honest and just create an award for best quarterback. The MVP can be mixed, and they can be honest. They can vote for CMC for MVP the same way the college football has Devontae Smith has a Heisman. Even though Mac Jones is throwing him the ball, they knew
Travis Hunter.
They knew those deep balls went to Devontae Smith, and he made those plays happen for Mac Jones and not the other way around. Charles Wilson, obviously, you know, you can go on and on and on. A lot of the quarterbacks are going to get these awards because they have the ball in their hand. I think they should just go ahead and introduce the best quarterback award. That way they can extend the MVP to maybe 6 to 8 guys and get a real honest thing where they can be like, all right, we're going to really vote on this. Get some wide receivers in there because that matters. JSN's season made Sam Darnold's season that much easier. That's value. And he had the numbers to back it up.
That's why he's my MVP. And I think that this race,
but if you had 8 finalists, you could do that. You can afford that. But you have to just be honest. Be like, best quarterback is 5 finalists. Offensive player of the year is 5 finalists. No quarterbacks. And then MVP is 8 guys.
But that's
Max.
why with the Opoi, I thought it was a 2-man race. I thought it was Puka or JSN. I don't like Drake May being in the Opoi because, to your point, you know what I mean? Like, that would have looked really stupid, I guess, if he'd have won MVP and then didn't win Opoi. I don't necessarily think the two are mutual, but it still would look crazy.
If you're the best, if most valuable player in the league and you play on offense, but you don't win offensive player of the year, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so as I told you, Carson Schlesinger was going to win Rookie of the Year. I thought it was
tackles. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be unanimous, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't think anybody else had the season that he had. But so there's your voting. He definitely ran away with it.
He ran it. And he probably ran away with it just because of the numbers. But like I said, I'm a homer, you see the hat. What Atlanta was able to do with those two players, they hadn't been able to do for years, the better part of a decade, to have a guy that was a ball hawking safety actually get interceptions, actually make plays in the pass game, make tackles in the run game, and then have a defensive end, especially a young one, because Atlanta was going out spending money on. They'll get the second best defensive end from the best defensive team from the previous year, not the best guy. And that guy gets a double team for the first time in his career, and all of a sudden he can't make anything happen. So when they went and got James Pierce Jr., even with all the rumor character issues, rumored, because everybody else has said nothing but great things about him. So I don't know what the hell they talk about at Tennessee. But for him to be able to perform the way he performed at that level for the Atlanta defense, I think that carried a lot of weight. I would have had him second. Like I said, I had Carson one because of just sheer volume of numbers, interceptions, playmaking. Cleveland was constantly behind in games. So he did get a lot more opportunities to make tackles because they weren't holding on to the ball along offense. But he made the tackles when he needed to make them, especially as a rookie, being able to step in and do that. So shout out to
Raheem Morris makes dumbass decisions. That's why.
Yeah. So I would have put James Pierce and Watt second just because they didn't have the defensive unit around them and a defensive mystique. Seattle's already been known for defense forever, and they built their team like that. Atlanta's not like that. And for those two men to perform that the way they did with a pretty average defense around them to play that exception, I would have had them second and third. But 156 tackles, you can't deny it.
Yeah, he's a good coach, Mike. He's just not a good head coach. I don't have a problem with the voting, and I think that if Pierce was going to be third, he should have a few more votes closer. But there wasn't many votes to give out because Schlesinger got so many of them. So I don't have a big problem with it. But I can see your argument. I don't think it's invalid. And then, of course, we got our coach of the year. So Mike Vrabel, of course. Let's look at these votes, Mr. Logical. Going off. He don't like that.
Don't like it at all, man. Kyle Shanahan was coach of the year. Argue with your mama about it. Kyle Shanahan literally had his team getting carted off the field at practice and then the week of the game.
At the airport.
He was losing a guy on Wednesday. He was losing a guy on Sunday. Every week. And then you had other guys that were injured from previous years out here making TikToks and not rehabbing. So you got to deal with that and deal with that question every week. Your starting quarterback is out. You run it with Mac Jones. You're in the toughest division in the NFL this year, supported by the fact that 3 teams had double-digit wins and made the playoffs and made the second round of the playoffs.
And 2 of them played each other in the NFC title game.
And it's championship game. So they were playing in the toughest division for 2025, 2026. Not historically, just this year. Before Mike chimes in, I know he's fuming to say something. But I think Kyle Shanahan should have been the coach of the year. I like what Vrabel did. I like the turnaround. I don't think Cohen did much because the team was basically the same. Like he had all the talent.
Yeah,
in
Trevor
place.
Lawrence was hurt last year. Yeah.
You know, the Parker Washington, you had Brian Thomas, you draft Travis Hunter, he gets injured. But I think you had Travis
And
Etienne.
then they brought in Kobe Myers.
You trade for Jacoby. So you had all the elements to a good team.
Yeah.
So Mike McDonald has an argument for sure. I just felt like Kyle Shanahan's team wasn't as good just post injuries, just not even like, just disputing them is like, I think losing the players that they were losing for seasoning the injuries and the guys they were losing in the middle where you still had the focus. Like you're losing guys in September, you still got to wait the 4 to 6 weeks until they come back. And then you lose multiple guys in between that and to still maintain that double-digit wins, be that competitive. I think that was an absolutely outstanding coaching job. And we talked about how they dissected Philly in the in that playoff game. Like Kyle Shanahan's play calling was second to none in that game. Granted,
yeah, if only you could do that in the Super Bowl, right?
I mean, just get a ball to Devontae Freeman, and we're good to go. And I'm wearing the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl fitted hat, but that didn't happen. But we all live, we learned. That was 10 years ago. I'm still a happy person. Well, 9 years ago. So we still make it. But yeah, that's my thing. No slight to Vrabel. I think Vrabel just kind of inherited I wouldn't say a better team, but I think he inherited a team where he had all his people and he just had to impart his wisdom as a good coach on them.
Drake May was a rookie last year. You know what I mean? So there were going to be some bumps along the way. And of course, they had a coach who didn't have any head coach experience, trying to keep it the Patriot way and all that, and it just didn't work. I don't have a problem.
They say he was out there acting like Black Bill Belichick. And it just wasn't working. Like a lot of the accounts, like he was like Black Bill Belichick, and it just wasn't working. It was like, dog, you're not Bill.
Yeah, you don't got to show me the rings. I think that Shanahan is a good choice. But like I said the other day, I like Ben Johnson, just from the standpoint of
he wasn't likable. That's why I knew he wasn't gonna get it. He was an asshole.
The team got better.
I knew he wasn't gonna win because he was an asshole for no reason.
Voters got feelings, I guess.
Belichick too. Yeah. Let's keep it real. He also didn't go to a bear cupboard.
Well, I think he was more Greg Popovich than Belichick. But he just doesn't have a name yet. He hadn't been a head coach yet, so people are looking at him with who the hell do you think you are?
He went to a stacked offensive team that made a lot of defensive trades at the end of last year. They brought in some bodies. They had a good defense. They already had their quarterback in place. I'm just saying, like, he didn't go to a bear cupboard. I know I just said it, but I just wanted to slow it down and say it again. So he went to like a team, like he picked out the team. Like, okay, this team gives you the best opportunity to win, and everyone was there.
No, but like coming into this year, the talk was, is Caleb Williams a bust? Like how good is he?
The Bears historically fell short.
And then they didn't have a running game last year. They didn't have their running game is much better this year. They added Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, that they drafted this year. So they came with Ben Johnson.
They had DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Komet.
Yeah, who DJ Moore, who Caleb Williams don't even like.
Well, they don't like each other, but he's still fast. He's still tall, strong, and fast. Like he's available.
And they just got better every week. It wasn't just that they clicked week one, and it was just like, oh yeah, the Bears got talent. Like we were still surprised throughout the year that they kept winning, and that was him.
I was more surprised that Shanahan was winning games because Rez can tell you. I was picking against San Francisco every week. Every week I would say the same thing.
Yeah, but San Francisco had that schedule. San Francisco had that schedule though, so we knew
when they played Atlanta, I was like, Atlanta's gonna take advantage of the fact that they just lost Fred Warner, they just lost this guy, and they ended up losing. I picked them against the Bears. I was like, the Bears are going to be able to take advantage of the fact that these guys weren't available. And every single week that I picked against Shanahan was because I thought he didn't have the players available. I always thought Ben Johnson had the players available. I just thought that he acted as if people were like putting him down for the team's performance. It's like, yo, you lose a game, it is what it is. But I never felt like he was ever in a situation where he looked at his active roster and said, damn, I don't know how I'm going to draw plays for these guys to get me points. I don't know how I'm going to defensively, what we're going to do to stop the other team, because everybody was available. They were all starters, NFL, first, second team starting quality players. Whereas,
and they still had those players last year. So
I'm not saying he didn't do a better job than a previous coach.
But I'm saying, so if they had all this talent and couldn't get it done, and then a new guy comes in there and turns it around,
but
what you want from me? Like,
I mean, Liam Cohen. If we go Liam Cohen,
yes, Liam Cohen did a good job this year,
but he didn't have to listen. If
I was the only person on this show that picked the Jaguars to win the South.
Well, it was a toss-up. I figured Houston just would kind of maintain,
you know what I'm saying?
Win.
So I know what the Jaguars had.
Yeah, but I just didn't feel like their cupboard was bare. Kyle Shanahan, the team paid their starting quarterback $250 million plus, and he wasn't available for most of the first 6 or 7, 8 games, something in that range. I think Chicago, I don't think any of these coaches did a bad job.
Yeah.
I just felt like in a 200-meter race, Kyle Shanahan was at 220 when it started, and some of these guys were at 180.
Kyle Shanahan had the best case. I think any of them could have won it. I told you when we did our award show, I told you that was the hardest category for me. Was the coaches.
I thought Mike McDonald probably had I knew Shanahan.
And I told you Vrabel was going to win too.
Yeah, I knew Shanahan wasn't going to win because it's the same thing where it's like cross sports, NBA. Phil Jackson has one Coach of the Year award. One. Kobe has one MVP. But every year they're going to be great. So you just you're not surprised that Shanahan made this happen because you have seen his past triumphs.
Right.
Whereas Vrabel, I don't know if he won Coach of the Year with Tennessee. I think then he probably should have, because I think that was a little bit different. I think Ryan Tannehill was a bit of a castaway and a bit of a question mark. And, they didn't have this stout defense. Jacksonville, Indy, Houston, their division wasn't top tier. But I think Mike McDonald had a bit of an argument because he was moving off of one quarterback, bringing in another guy that says that people felt like, was Minnesota one-hit wonder, and then everything improved. So I thought he had a good case, but just the absence of equal talent that Shanahan was dealing with, I thought would have given him the edge. If he was a second or third year coach, no Super Bowl experiences, he would have got all the first place votes.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have done what he did this year without having the history, and his name was Mike Charlatan and not Shanahan, he would have got all the first place votes. But the fact that it's Mike Shanahan is or Kyle Shanahan, excuse me, name was Kyle Shanahan. It was we expect him to do that. Look what he did with XYZ.
Comeback Player of the Year, I'm going to be honest, I don't care. But here's your votes.
Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I don't care. You can say whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't care about that award one iota.
I don't know, is the more... If the injury
honestly, okay, I'll play ball. It should be Dak. It should be Dak.
Well, if the injury is worse and you come back, should that account for it?
I don't know, and that's why I don't care about this award, because Like you could just like DeMar Hamlin was going to win it regardless, right? Like,
Correct.
you know, what I mean? Like even if
died.
he only had 2 tackles on the season, he was going to. I don't care about this award.
He
Moving
died.
on. Joe Tooney won the initial NFL Protector of the Year award. He see they ain't even list the votes for that one. Rookie of the Year, we got Tet. Both of us picked Tet to win Rookie of the Year. I
don't know
shocked.
how Tyler got more than Jackson Dart.
That's what I was about to. That was just what I was about to say. I don't know why Tyler Shuck is even on here.
Here we go. I'm gonna tell you why. We talked about this before. It's the America loves an underdog story that doesn't overachieve but achieves more than you expect. Not like Tyler Shuck, if he was like Jackson Dart did more than Tyler Shuck, but no one's expecting Tyler Shuck to do anything. He did exactly what Spencer Rattler was doing. Like the numbers are the same. Like you look at the numbers, they're almost like mirror images. It's just that he was kind of getting shit on for that terrible throw he made in the combine. He never was on TV talking about his spot. We talk about like Shador and how he was always being questioned and so forth and so on. I think America loves an underdog story as long as you're not infringing on their heroes' territory. That's why he got 5 votes.
Yeah, I could have
didn't
done
do
without
anything.
that. I mean, they came in they came on at the end of the season. They won a couple of games and everything. So I mean, I ain't gonna like just straight up
division that had a 3-way tie at 8 and 9.
There you go. I think the right person won. I think Travion gets more votes if the Patriots used him more. You know what I mean?
Like how Tetaroa's mother was like, "Listen, I named him Tetaroa." She said it with her accent. Not Tet.
Don't call him Tet. Yeah. And then of course, we got our Defensive Player of the Year. We don't got to get too deep into that.
Yeah.
And then your boy Josh McDaniels. Assistant coach of the year. Look at what he did. What I'm saying? He turned Drake May into an MVP candidate in year 2.
Listen, man. I think he should just be banished from awards. That's my bias. I don't really think he did.
I would have loved to see Vance Joseph win it. Clint Kubiak obviously did a great job with Sam Darnold. So I could see both of those. Brian Flores.
You see how they have more people. Granted, because it's like offensive defensive coaches. I like Vance Joseph. I just think that it's tougher to be a top tier defensive coach because you could draw up the best game plan and one guy can be looking the wrong way and you give up a touchdown. So to keep that many elements in order, or a guy could bump a guy's arm and now it's a pass interference. Now they got the ball at the 5 and now they're going to get points out of this drive no matter what. And the call was subjective. That rarely happens on offense, whereas like a guy catches the ball and they say, we think he might have pushed off, so we're going to bring it back. It doesn't happen as often. So I think offensive coaches kind of get the benefit of the doubt of the fact that the game is leaning to your side of the ball. So to be dynamic, that's why I'm glad 2nd, 3rd, and 4th went to defensive coordinators because like it's just tougher. Yeah. Players can't use their hands, they can't grab, they can't hold. Tight ends run face first into linebackers and safeties and man-to-man coverage. Every single play, push off, run their little dig routes, run their little out routes, and then they'll call the safety or linebacker for illegal contact if they hold on for dear life so they don't get knocked over. Because the last thing you want to be is on film on your ass and Travis Kelce is wide open on a little out route or a little comeback route because he pushed you and you fell down.
I would have loved.
That's the penalty of them.
I would have loved to see Brian Flores win it, because of the impact that he had. But the team just didn't win a lot of games, so the voters
JJ
aren't going to.
McCarthy's a bum and ruined it for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They would have
You
kept
know,
saying they'd be in the Super
hey,
Bowl.
Riley Moss had a lot of PIs that they don't call on
Man,
nobody else.
they
Like, I
literally
don't
were
know why
abusing him with the PI. He was working his ass off, and I watched a lot of Denver games because Rachel's daughter Ava is a Denver fan, so we watched a lot of those games in that 425 slot on the. So I watched a lot of those games, and Riley Moss was getting a lot of the calls that
the
Sauce
worst
Gardner
calls.
didn't get called.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Soy sauce, shout out to Dallas Mike. But yeah, so there you go. Those are how the awards panned out.
You
So
get the
Mr.
MVP?
Lodge. We did
You got the
MVP. That was
numbers?
the first one we
You get
did.
It's something. I saw something that said.
It just had the list of finalists. It had the list of finalists.
Okay.
All right. So then, of course, we talked about it earlier. There was a lot going on in the NBA yesterday, in the last 2 days, I guess I should say. All right, let me look down at my paper because I can't remember all this off the top of my head.
Let me pull up my little
Anthony Davis.
here.
Well, this trade in particular, I just, I got to look at it. So Anthony Davis from Dallas to Washington with Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. In return, Dallas gets Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, 2 first-round draft picks, and 3 second-round picks. I couldn't remember all that, man. I tried. Yeah. I tried. You know what I'm saying? And Branham, I think in my notes down here, he got traded again later. But so AJ Johnson, let me start with AJ Johnson. I know I should start with Anthony Davis, but I'm gonna start with AJ Johnson. AJ Johnson, said no, not yet, Mike. AJ Johnson got drafted in the early 20s in the NBA draft, and I shitted on it because he came from Australia. He averaged 2 points a game, and then it happened. He got drafted by the Bucks, and I saw him take the court. And I said, damn. You know what I'm saying? He came to the Wizards. And I was like, hey, this guy's going to be one of the futures of the Wizards. He's going to be here. And then just like that, now all the hospitals in Washington, D.C. get all the practice in the world. Because not only do we got Trae Young, we get Anthony Davis as well. And Anthony Davis is the type of dude that has had, we talked about this offline. Any injury you could think of, he probably had it.
Head to toe.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. This
head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes.
Like, I can't believe this. Like, you know what I mean? So Anthony Davis, he's a champion. He obviously is very talented at different points in his career. You could argue that he's been a top 5 to top 10 player in the league. But I don't care. I don't want him. I know Trae is a free agent after this season.
I'm not sure what Washington's plan is. They went like medium old injured.
Like I told you, it's
undersized and unavailable.
It's hope. You know what I mean? Because they got a core. I love Bub Carrington. I love Alex Sarr. I love Keyshawn George. So the Wiz have a core. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this was one of those, let's get some vets in here. Because obviously this move is for next year. This season's over. So this move is for going forward, I would suppose. So you start off next season, clean slate.
32 next season?
Something like that, yeah. That ain't old.
No,
you acting like he's 36. Like
it's not old if you Steph Curry. Steph Curry had ankle problems in his early 20s. They figured out his shoes and the titanium carbon fiber ankle braces, wherever he got with the multiple Velcro straps that he got from SpaceX or Elon or some futuristic startup in the San Francisco area because he hadn't had an ankle injury, knock on wood, ever since then. So they figured that part out, which enabled them to get the short-term deal or whatever. But it's like
you AD can't play in bubble.
AD, like he gets hurt, and like I said, he's dynamic, and injuries happen, and I understand that. But when injuries keep happening to the same person, and that person is a top tier talent, so you rely on that. It's not like Porzingis. Porzingis gets hurt and he misses a few games.
Oh, we'll get to him. He got traded too.
Yeah, he got traded. So if he plays 42 games, you're like, okay, if I can get 42, if I can get 30 average games and 10 outstanding games from Porzingis, and then the playoffs come and I can get whatever I can get from him for the 28 games of the 4 rounds, if we can make it from opening tip of the playoffs to the NBA Finals Game 7, that's all you can really hope for. But with Anthony Davis, it's like you want him theoretically for the 82 games to be available, and then you kind of manage when he doesn't play because he's so dynamic and you can run your entire offense and defense to him because he's that good. He's not a support player. He's your guy.
Well, I think that
your guy not being available, you don't have a backup that can do what he does. So I don't know why you were trading for him.
Whenever he's on the court, whenever Anthony Davis is on the court, him and Sarr are going to be a pain in the ass for offenses around the league. You know, both of them going to send your shots back to the crowd. You know, both of them can come up top and, you know, guard on the switch. It's going to be nuts, you know, as long as, you know, Anthony Davis can stay on the court. Now, the problem is that they're going to be playing cleanup because Trae Young is going to be letting everybody buy him. So one of them is going to be occupied trying to keep Trae's guy from getting to the basket while
Trae's
defending their guy.
Some kind of steal you can get when the guy turns the corner and you can like reach under his arm to get the steal without getting a foul. I think that might be the best thing for him to do. Like, listen, I'll play as much defense as I can, but he turns the corner. Can I get on his hip and reach around without fouling and knock the ball out? Because
you know what's crazy?
The 5'11" guard is being phased out of the NBA.
You know what's crazy? You ever see a move that probably doesn't move the needle a lot, but just because of the team that they went to, you feel like it means something? So Oklahoma City gets Jared McCain for 3 second-round picks. You know, and 3 second-round picks and a first-round pick. So it doesn't move the needle. I say the name Jared McCain. We remember he had some good games last year. He had some 30-point games. This year he's been hurt. He went to the G League. You know, he's back now. But Oklahoma City getting him for some reason really irks me.
Well, I think the thing with Jerry McCain is something that I think about. When I think about like basketball players, I think of like more of either a skinny build or like skinny build like Ingram, pseudo, like I think Kevin Durant's trying to work on his muscle a little bit, or like Giannis. But guys like McCain, he's kind of built like a short Luka, but he doesn't have like the shot. You know, like Kyle Lowry. You know, Kyle Lowry's always like a bulldog kind of guy. Same thing with like Chris Paul, but they just had like an innate ability to kind of make space happen. So that's, for lack of a better word, disadvantage doesn't really impact them. Jerry McCain just never really. It's like, are you fast? Are you quick? Are you strong? Are you just good? Like, is it like
he's a good shooter?
That you do? What is it that you do like on a basketball court that guarantees you playing time? And it like
he's a good shooter. Okay. You know what I mean? So like that's the thing. The Bulls were very busy, so this is another one of the ones I got to look down at. They got Ousmane Dieng, Colin Sexton, and 3 second-round picks from Charlotte for Mike Conley and Kobe White. And then, of course, if you haven't seen the news, Mike Conley's back in Minnesota now. You know, that's funny how that works. So they traded him.
Was happening, but I didn't see the update.
Yeah, they traded him, and since he went to Charlotte, he got or to Chicago. You know, he got waived by Chicago, went to Charlotte, got waived. So since he got waived by 2 teams,
he doesn't have
he
to
was
clear
eligible to
waivers
go
over.
back to Minnesota. Yeah. So if only one of them would have done it, they wouldn't be able to get him. But here we are.
I'm like, I want 2.5% stake in the team just for all that BS I just put me through.
And then the Bulls went and got Anthony Simons. We talked about that the other day for Vucevic. So the Bulls are just guard central at this point. The Hornets are guard central at this point.
Guys are playing a different brand of basketball.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Entertainment only, entertainment first basketball.
Yeah, then
how many threes can we put up? How fast can we run? How many points can we score? Maybe we can play a little defense.
So then you got the Warriors trading Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Porzingis. Now, this is the problem, Mr. Logical. You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I don't know how much longer Kristaps Porzingis can play basketball. I don't think he's going to play another 3 years, for example. So I think the Warriors are looking at this as a name. Let's go try to win now. But the problem is he's played 17 games this season.
Yeah.
24 minutes in those games. And, he had the issue last year, missed the play. He still has that condition. It's not going away.
That unverified mystery condition that caused him to get sick. That one? He had Boston, right?
From what I've been reading, he has POTS. So for the uninitiated, that's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So basically what that means is his nervous system, has been infiltrated. He has heart rate problems.
Because of his nervous system.
Which goes on to blood pressure issues.
Because you can't regulate your blood pressure.
So that's why I say, I don't know how much longer he's going to play basketball. I don't know what he offers the Warriors this year.
I don't think that's the greatest sport to play when you have a nervous system issue that's affecting your heart rate, blood pressure.
That's what I'm saying.
Being able to regulate it. I think this is the absolute.
I don't want you to be Hank Gathers.
Soccer.
Yeah, I don't want you to be Hank Gathers out here.
Basketball may be the absolute last sport. He should be out there
and playing
nothing, if that's the case. Swimming, maybe.
So the Hawks, you know what I'm saying? This is low risk, high reward. You know what I'm saying? Kuminga, he got a little money last year, but it's nothing crazy. Buddy Hield expires at the end of he has 2 years left on his deal at $3 million. You know what I mean? Kuminga has a team option for next season, $24.3 million. So I think they're going to flip Kuminga. I think they're going to play out this season because they're one of these teams in the play-in range and everything. Trae Young's gone. I think that they're going to trade him in the offseason. I don't know how he looks next to Ricochet, unless the plan is to bring him, is because you got Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels.
Milwaukee.
So, Porzingis doesn't solve anything for the Warriors. Even if he does play, he's the wrong type of big man that they need. You know what I mean? He could do what Quentin Post does, but better. But at the same time, the Warriors need a big man that can bang, if for lack of better words, pause. They need Kevon Looney. That's what they need. They need a guy that's going to do the dirty work, mix it up on the boards. And Porzingis is not that guy right now, and especially with, what he's got going on right now. So, Mr. Logical, I was thinking about this earlier when I was thinking about this trade. Golden State should have just traded Kuminga and Moody for Pascal Siakam 2 years ago, like the rumor went. That's what they should have did.
They held on. That 2022 championship reset their clock, and it shouldn't have. It should have been all right, our watch has ended. Shout out to Game of Thrones. We need to go ahead and make these moves to ensure that we're a viable team going forward. Excuse me.
So of course, Mr. Logical, I don't think that you have heard anybody say the words that I'm about to say.
Let's hear it.
The Clippers made the right decisions. You know, they
Yeah,
because of course, you know, they
I
traded
agree.
Garland for James Harden. We talked about that the other day. You know, they went out and got Benedict Mathurin, you know, for Zubac. You know, I was shocked to see that they let Zubac go, you know, but hey, it is what it is. Um, they
I
got rid
think
of they
they're getting younger. I think they're
they're
trying to get younger, trying to make sure that they have exciting players. And then I use OKC a lot, but it's like having young, dynamic front, like backcourt players is your Golden State, fandom strategy. So it's like, okay, let's get a guy that is ready to be the lead guy, young guy, get off these 45, $50 million contracts for guys who are 4 or 5 years away from 40, and
right.
let's start handing out these $37 million contracts to guys that are
And
24.
and on top of that, Mr. Logical, they got Isaiah Jackson, you know, young shot blocker, you know, and 2 first-round picks out of the deal for Zubac too. So, you know, so the Clippers cleaned up. You know what I'm saying? I like it. But I like it for the Pacers too. You know, I like Zubac. You know, I don't know how that works when Hallie gets back because they're going to play a little fast. So I don't know how that's going to work. But, you know, I think
Treadmill.
Zubac is good enough. But the Clippers also finally traded Chris Paul, you know, in a 3-team trade involving the Brooklyn Nets and the Toronto Raptors. So Chris Paul to Toronto. We'll see if they buy him out.
Our team
Uh,
just do teams favors. Is like, yo, dog, do me a favor. I need to come off this contract. It's why am I involved in this?
All right,
Like,
hold
why
on.
am I involved in helping you move a guy that you casted away 18, 20 games into the season? Like, why am I involved in this?
You know,
I think about that every
oh,
time. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why am I who what was it? Oh, the Luca to LA deal. Why am I Utah in this deal? Why am I engaging in this Luca going
tomfoolery.
to LA deal? Like, why am I involved in this? Like, why are you calling 801 area codes asking me questions about how I feel about this deal? Like, no, I don't want to be a part of this at all. And then they come back,
So,
well, we'll give you $500,000. Okay, we'll do it. Like, it sounds crazy to me.
so Chaya Bahi and a 2032 second-round pick goes to the Nets with some cash.
Exactly. Throw
The
some money in
Cavs,
there and take this guy off our hands.
the Cavs sent Lonzo Ball and 2 second-round. I'm sorry, the Cavs sent Lonzo Ball and 2 second-round picks to Utah, who also got cash and sent Jock Landale to Atlanta. So Atlanta got another big man, you know, to shore up their lineup, their depth. Utah, I think, is going to try to play reverse Golden State. So, you know, back in 2015, Golden State had the small ball, you know, Iggy in the lineup, Draymond at the 5 and all that kind of stuff. Well, Utah, you know, Keontae George, you know, at the point guard, you know, he's taking a leap this year. You got Ace Bailey. You picked up Jaren Jackson. You got Walker Kessler coming back next year.
7 feet
Like,
tall.
so yeah, Laurie Marketed. Yeah, so I think like they're going to go the opposite here and go, we're just going to go big dudes that can shoot the lights out. And if you need us to play some big man traditionally, you know, we got Nurkic too.
Yeah, we'll just throw our hands up and maybe we could defend at the rim. But
yeah, and then they might draft AJ DeBoncha from BYU. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, man.
if
Like,
the NBA is fixed, if the NBA is rigged, they'll get AJ DeBoncha.
yeah, like you got that. Minnesota wasn't done. They traded Rob Dillingham, my Kentucky Wildcat, Leonard Miller, and
His time
4
was ticking.
second-round, 4 second-round picks to guess who? Chicago for Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips. So I like the Sumu for the Timberwolves. You know, we talk about Mike Conley and how he is a detriment because of his age. You know, he still plays well,
Not a
but
detriment.
he's a detriment.
It's not a detriment. I think Minnesota has just not been able to handle the success they had with their Western Conference runs and they believe that their team is NBA Finals worthy, and they just need to make one move, and they keep making bad move after bad move after bad move after bad move after
Well, I
bad
like this
move.
one because he can score from that position. You know what I mean? So late in the game, where Mike Conley, he'll hit a three, but Mike Conley's not going to break down the defense, and create shots for other people. Like he'll make passes, great passes, and he has good court vision, but he's not going to go one-on-one. And if he does, you don't necessarily have the threat that he's going to get to the basket to score either. So you at least get that.
He's a crafty vet.
He is.
I just think Minnesota's a good team. They have a superstar. I think they had good role players. Like I said, I never was a big
You'd rather
fan
have
of
Mike
Julius.
Conley or Chris Paul?
Mike Conley.
Because
Because Mike Conley, I won't say knows his role, like he, some kind of submissive player, but I think Mike Conley understands how to get the best out of the guys around them, and I felt like this with the Cat Julius Randle move. I was like, I don't think that's as big of a move as you guys think.
they still
And
made
it
the
turned
Western
out
Conference Finals.
but it was the same exact thing. Like you just traded a light skinned player for a dark skinned player that does the same thing except one's left handed. Like you didn't improve your team. You just changed the
Well,
chemistry
Randall, you
dynamic.
could argue
Julius
Randall
Randle
gave
was
them.
good.
Yeah, I was
He
gonna say you
good.
could argue that he gave them another ball handler to some degree. Cat wasn't able to.
Cat, he does the same thing. He just dribbles more on the perimeter, but he doesn't dribble into a pull up. He dribbles and he just does the same thing Cat does, where he just basically puts his hips on someone, turns, and like shoots little fadeaways, or Cat will come off like a pin down and then shoot a three. But like not
Yeah,
like Julius Randle's like breaking down a defense like the way Kaminga's a better ball handler. But it's like I didn't think the Julius Randle move was necessary, but I just felt like when teams get like a certain level of success, maybe a year or two too early, they
yeah.
rush it and they try to microwave it. And I think that's what Minnesota did.
All right, so I'm
And
gonna
I
run
think
a
they've
few.
been chasing it ever since.
I'm gonna run through a few of these. So let me know when you hear something you like. So Gabe Vincent in a second rounder for Luke Kennard. So Lakers to Hawks.
He was
Um,
traded as soon as LeBron did this. When you see that video?
yeah,
LeBron
yeah.
was talking to someone like over like to the left of Gabe Vincent, and LeBron was like leaning over him. And I'm assuming someone said something like, whose fault was that? And LeBron did this.
Yeah.
He got
That
traded
was,
2 days later.
what I'm saying? I support Gabe Vincent, man. He was on
It's
that
a
team
death.
Nigeria that beat, Team USA. But the Lakers get a good shooter out of it. So, that's always a positive. Cole Anthony and Amir Coffey from Milwaukee to Phoenix for Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes Davis. Okay, whatever. Jose Alvarado to the Knicks. To the Knicks.
Jordan versus Josh Hart. Keep going.
So this is important because Deuce McBride is getting surgery this week, and I got that from the Athletic on his core, so that could be a long injury. Sounds like he'll at least miss the rest of the regular season. And the Knicks are 27th in bench scoring. The Lakers are at the bottom too, so that Kennard thing is is good for them.
So you got another scrappy guy like Josh Hart that fits,
That's from New York.
That fits Thibodeau's kind of makeup, but yet you fired Tibbs last year.
Yes.
So let me know how that turns out.
Boston traded Chris Boucher to Utah for, that was a luxury tax move. And then, of course, Mr. Logical, the one more trade I mentioned, Malachi Branham did get traded again. He went to – I can't even read this. So, yeah, he went to Dallas for Tyus Jones. Dallas got Tyus Jones in that trade. But the other thing that I wanted to get into a little bit, Cam Thomas cut?
When it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Where should he go?
I would say because teams need unconscious scorers, all teams that I think a lot of these teams try to make these moves hoping that they can bring a guy in that can just score. I don't know what the money looks like, but I think Cleveland might be a good spot. They shoot a lot of threes out of their with their second unit. If you want to play Cleveland, I say maybe even like a team like Detroit. I'm definitely shooting for the top 3 or 4 teams on either side that I'm going to. Maybe the Nuggets, because when Jamal Murray's not on, they need a guy who can kind of just put up shots. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's on a 1-year, $5 million deal. He turned down 2 years, $30 million from the Nets in the offseason. He's on a 1-year, $5 million, so he's a free agent after the season. I got a team in mind.
That's 2 years, $30 million. He was like, I don't even want to be here for that.
So if Milwaukee isn't trying to tank, which they may be, but if they're not, I think he could be a decent fit.
I'm not going from 14 to 12.
Hey,
as Cam Thomas, as Cam Thomas.
Well, you're going to go to who pick you. Like you got to go to who gets you off of waivers. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, if that's the case, if somebody picks you up, then you deal with it and you ball out. But if you can clear and you can pick a team, I'm trying to pick a team that has a. Granted, this is a pipe dream, but like
what about Boston?
Second unit's Boston's second unit's allowed to shoot a lot of threes. They're allowed to just kind of run and gun. It's not a lot of defense. It's a lot of get open, get in space, drive and kick. That's what he does.
What about the Clippers?
Well, I like it, but I don't know if they already have. If they're trying to work in these guys they just traded for, I don't know if you bring in a guy that's like just a shooter who doesn't defend at all.
I was going to say
if I'm him, I'm shooting top 5. I mean, granted, I don't know if the
I was going to say Minnesota, but I changed my mind.
I mean, I don't know if the Lakers have a spot, but the problem would be with the Lakers is that whatever your expectations of how you're going to be utilized are, it rarely comes to fruition. You just you're kind of in a different role than you thought you would or you thought you fit. Well, even like the pundits thought you fit. Like we all thought Dalton Connect was going to be like the guy that was going to be able to get up shots and shoot the three and play and get a lot of playing time, but it doesn't happen.
You know what I just thought about
that's
too?
The thing with the Lakers that I wouldn't. Their recent history says to me, if I'm Cam Thomas, like LA's probably dope, but if I'm going out there, I'm going to the Clippers.
What about last team I'm gonna bring up? What about Golden State?
State, yep, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, like off the bench.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
because I think he's gonna have to commit to this Lou Williams life. I don't think that he's gonna be starting most of his career. I think he's gonna be the microwave off the bench. So
if I can come off the bench and drop 18 or come off the bench with the green light, then I'm doing it. But if you're worried about playoff seeding, I will look at that. But or if you're just looking like who's going to pay me, where do I want to live? I mean, I don't think there's any space. Orlando needs shooters, and that gets you from 14 in the East to 7. So you get a real shot. I don't know. Yeah. I just always felt like he got a bit of a raw deal. I just feel like if a guy can score the ball at the rate that he was like, because he had that stretch where he was dropping 40, 30 and 40 for like that.
And then he was getting DMPs.
And then he was getting like DMPs. And it's like, I understand coaches have like their philosophy, but the problem is sometimes there's not enough people in the coaching staff that says, this doesn't make any sense that we're down 8 in the second quarter, but the score is only 30 to 22. Let's get this guy who likes to score into the game. Like, nah, we're going to run this because I want to run these plays.
And then lastly,
coaches are like that. They're not all good.
Yeah, so I had a thought at the start of the trade deadline. And I felt that whatever Anthony Davis was going to do was going to be dependent on what Giannis was going to do. So, every year in free agency.
Giannis wasn't going anywhere.
Well, every year in free agency, there's always a handful of free agents where nothing moves until they start moving. So when Anthony Davis got traded, that was the confirmation that Giannis wasn't going anywhere.
Because that was, like I said, last week we were talking, Washington was the team I thought probably could throw enough at Milwaukee
to get
for
Giannis.
Milwaukee to just be like, you know what, you can have him. We understand he might have wanted to go to a contender, but it's like, I'm about to get the next 6 first-round picks from this team, so that's what I'm going to do.
All right,
I understand teams owe a debt of gratitude to the players that have allowed them to achieve success that they have. Teams' value, as far as from an ownership standpoint, is based off how well the players on the court play and how popular they are, because the Sacramento Kings are not as valuable if you try to sell the Kings if you're trying to sell the Golden State
Kings
Warriors.
Trying to get that number 1 pick.
So I understand that players do increase the net worth of their owners, and the GMs are allowed to get bigger contracts, subsequently always trickling all the way down. But with that being said, if I'm moving you because you're kind of disgruntled, I'm under no obligation to make you happy somewhere else. It's like, listen, all I got to do is get the proper lawyer to sign up these divorce papers and make sure they get delivered to an address where you are so you get access to these papers and you can sign them. That's the extent. I'm not here to make sure you get everything you want. It's like, you want to go? Cool. I want to make sure we get everything squared away and I get you this information that you need. And for Giannis, if I'm Milwaukee, I would have sent them. I would have dealt with the fallout. I'm holding
on to the end of the season because like we talked about the other day, you just get so much more, because I think about it like this. This is where my mind is going. So Denver, San Antonio, Houston, Minnesota, OKC.
Okay.
One of y'all is losing in the second round. And depending on who out of that list that I just said loses, they're going to overreact.
Okay.
So the Spurs might send a nice little package because we talked about that in the offseason, getting Giannis next to Wemby.
Would be a little. That would be that. If all the teams you mentioned, you said the Nuggets, the Spurs, the Rockets,
T-Wolves, and OKC.
And who else? OKC. Of those 5 teams, OKC would be
They got all the picks.
Likely. They would be the least likely.
Yeah, they would be the least likely, but they got all the picks.
And if Milwaukee just wants a bunch of picks, I'm thinking that's a bad move when you're actually giving up a physical asset that was a league MVP a couple times and won an NBA.
Well, you got us.
The Spurs are so young.
We're talking about Milwaukee, though.
Yeah, but
ain't nobody going to Milwaukee.
But I can make a trade and get somebody here, get an actual body here.
But you don't want to because you got to start over. Like you're not going.
You got to start over anyway.
Look at where they are with Giannis. I know
is averaging 20.2 points a game
right now with Giannis,
getting a 2028. Unless OKC is giving you. So the draft this year is 2026.
They're 21 and 29 with Giannis right now.
Yeah, if they're giving you 3 or 4 unprotected picks that they got from all these deals they made for 2026, I'm getting 2 first rounds of 2026, maybe a 2026 and a 2020 or 2 2027s, something like that. Then I'll rock with it. But I don't know if I can, because if you're going to Giannis and you're doing that, you got to start over with you got to get rid of Doc.
But you're going to get players. But you're going to get players because you got to get the money to match. So you're not going to trade. Yeah, so you're still going to get.
I need a guy that I think I can turn to 17 points a game to 27 points a game if he is given the green light to put up 26 shots a game. I need that guy back. So I think San Antonio would be a bad move for them. I think OKC, it would just be like an embarrassment of riches. The
Houston.
Timberwolves. Okay, Houston. I think Houston just tried to get young, but sprinkled in KD. So I don't know if that move really works. And I don't know if that move works for Milwaukee because I'm not sure.
I like that, Mike.
I think Minnesota makes a move, but I think it doesn't work. It doesn't work out well for Minnesota. I mean, for Milwaukee. I don't know what bodies. I don't know what bodies or picks you can get back. So Giannis is going to end up at one of these teams that, if he does leave, it's going to be him rebuilding somebody.
Yeah, somebody like Chicago, right? Because we just talked about how Chicago's got all these guards.
Yeah, the current NBA is not built around central superstar. I mean, hell, let's keep it real. The Lakers had last year had LeBron and Luka. Granted, Luka was coming off injuries, and the previous regime felt like he was a little overweight. You give a professional NBA player in his mid-20s, say, "Hey, dog, you got 10 days. We're gonna get you in this sauna, this pool with the treadmill, with this dietitian. We're gonna cut 12 pounds off of you, get you ready." And you had Luka and LeBron, and at 0 point that any of us think that those two guys are going to be able to take that team that far. Teams aren't built like that anymore. If you become a superstar and your team kind of grew with you, that works. But just plugging in KD, plugging in Steph, I don't think plugging in James Harden, plugging in even Luka and LeBron, it doesn't work the same way. So I think Giannis is kind of operating like, 2018, LeBron traded half his team and the trade deadline and still made the NBA Finals. I'm that caliber player. I'm that good as he was in 2018, which I don't doubt. He's on par, 30-something points, 10, 11 rebounds, 8 or 9 assists. You are an ultra dynamic player. But if you're trying to get traded mid-season, the team you're going to will be depleted. That's the problem.
And then you didn't finish. What were you going to say about Minnesota?
I don't know if Minnesota has like the pieces that would entice Milwaukee to make the deal. Because if I'm Milwaukee and if I'm rebuilding, I got to get rid of Doc, because I can't have a coach with, Doc sitting on 23 years experience, 23 years plus probably.
Yeah.
And everywhere he's gone, he's had like stars. Like he's had like guys that were just kind of just built in stars already. I don't know what he looks like in a rebuild. So I'm going to have to just go ahead and start with a new young coach, these new young prospects I can get from whatever team is willing to give up XYZ, whatever team panics in the second round before the, free agent deadline starts, early July after the NBA Finals. Yeah, whatever those teams can give me the most that they're willing to give up for Giannis, and I'll make that move. But
and that's why, like I said, like, because if you're Milwaukee and you just want to get the nightmare over, then yeah, you would have traded Giannis yesterday. But that's probably not good business. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't know what you're leaving on the table, and you know what I mean. Like I said, these draft picks in this particular draft are going to be very valuable. It is a deep draft, but if you're Milwaukee, I'm sure you would love to get your hand.
21 wins, you got to hope for the Dallas ball drop.
They're number 9 right now. If the draft was today, they would be number 9.
Yeah, so you got the Clippers. So if we go 9 through 15 in the West, Clippers got 23 wins, or we could just count the losses, 27 losses, all the way up to 40 for the Kings. And if we go East, you got
Nets, Wizards, Pacers.
Yes, a lot of teams. So yeah, you go if you're using 27 as the win-loss number, the Hawks got 27, Hornets, Bulls, Bucks at 29, 36, 37, 39. So the Bucks, you said at 9, they need the ball to drop in some kind of like Cleveland 03 Dallas Mavericks.
Hey, but you know what? The NBA works like that, right? If they trade, we've seen this. When LeBron left Cleveland, they got the number 1 pick. Anthony Davis left New Orleans, number 1 pick. Kyrie, or Cleveland got it, twice?
Cleveland got the number 1 pick twice. And
we've seen this.
Still needed their previous number 1 pick to come back to get them over the hump.
Yeah, we've seen this. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not that far-fetched. I mean, hell, Dallas was 10 last year. And got Cooper Cup. I mean, Cooper Flag.
But I'm looking at the article, standings shake up, LeBron's Lakers climb as Tatum Celtics fall. The thumbnail they're using is Kobe.
Interesting.
Let's see if you can see it.
But yeah, I see it.
Yeah, the thumbnail is Kobe on 3 different articles.
That's crazy. But so if you're Milwaukee, because they made trades that depleted a lot of their draft picks, so you got to replenish that, especially if you're going to be starting to rebuild.
Maybe they're literally going to hold on. He's going to do the Anthony Davis thing, where last game of the season he wears the shirt that says "That's all, folks." And they just clean it all out. They get everybody out there that's over 30.
What up, Jack?
They just run it back with they just run it like, we're gonna get as young as we can. I think that's what the Clippers are doing, but I think Steve Ballmer's is a different kind of businessman. He was like, we're not doing shit this year anyway, but I still got to keep seats in this expensive ass building I bought. So
that's why they made the move for Darius Garland and Mathurin. Yeah,
and Mathurin is like, maybe these guys can be,
and maybe they move Kawhi after the season.
Oh, absolutely, Kawhi's done. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, our previous legends when we grew up, the Barkleys, the Pippins, Olajuwons, Gary Payton, Patrick Ewing, even Jordan, like all these other guys kind of ended up going out kind of unceremoniously, multiple teams. But these days, I'm not sure what like I said, I blame LeBron and Tom Brady, but it's like a lot of these teams are holding on to guys like they can be like, what? You might have been done 2 years ago. Let me go and get you out of here. But they keep holding on. They keep signing these new deals. And it's like history is showing you that Kawhi Leonard should have already been in a Sacramento Kings jersey 2 years ago. James Harden should have been on his Patrick Ewing tour in Orlando last season. So disrespectful. I mean, you could call it what you want, but tell me what you're gaining by keeping him on the team. Paul George has got $212 million on what? Who negotiated that deal to where, like, first of all, Paul George is going to be a viable superstar 4 years from the day you started talking to him about this deal? It wasn't going to happen. It just simply wasn't going to happen. But like these teams keep writing these checks to these guys.
Well, that's because
it's okay for guys to be done with their career and you to bring up the 13th down the bench.
I think the Clippers came into this year thinking it was going to be the last hurrah, if you will. I think that was the thought coming into this year. Let's push it. Because last year
the last hurrah, that means it's not that much gas in the engine. So if I'm thinking it's the last hurrah, even I wasn't big on the Spurs. If I'm an executive, I got to think, all right, is my old group of men who are very talented, probably all Hall of Famers, are they going to have enough gas in the tank as we sit here October 10th to be playing meaningful basketball May 10th in the second round of the playoffs? Yes,
I mean, they took – okay, so look. All things being created equal, right?
But
Denver took OKC to 7 last year. The Clippers took Denver to 7.
I'm talking about this year's iteration, when you were sitting in
Yeah,
October
this year before they
2025,
traded James
like,
Harden, they've won 11 out of 15.
I'm not saying they're not a good team. I'm talking about in May. It's still February.
You got to get there.
Are you going to be a contending team considering the amount of money you're paying? Or are you just going to be an entertaining team? And I think some of these teams are finding that line. Like, listen, we're contenders, we're entertainers. And now when the entertainment starts to slip, it's like, well, we got to get rid of this so we can get back to potentially being entertainers.
Yeah. No, I mean,
let's keep it real.
The Clippers are not
Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's career looks like what a lot of these other guys who were winning around the time he started. Like, that's how a lot of their careers should look. But for some reason, it doesn't. These guys are still signing $200 million deals. And I'm like, why? What do you think you're going to get from these players in their mid to late 30s? Especially the way NBA contracts are written, because a $200 million deal, I bet you Paul George is probably so if we divide it by 4, that's $53 million a year. He's probably owed 67 and 71 in years 3 and 4 in that deal.
Yeah, that was a dumb move.
But the same thing with Dame Lillard's deal that Portland gave him. He was old, and then when they traded to Milwaukee, he was the back end of his deal. That was the problem with Russ's deal. It was the back end of the deal. So it's like, I'm signing to a deal at 28 or 29 for 4 years, and I want to trade you at 31, and you got 2 years left, and these next 2 years are 60 and 63.
No, this shit.
But I want to trade you because you're like a depleting asset. So how am I going to get?
No, this shit started with my Wildcat, John Wall, and I'll never forgive him. I'll never forgive the Wizards for giving John Wall that contract. That's where it all started, because there was like a point, I think that 1 year in Houston, he got like $50 million just to sit on the bench.
Just literally sit at home.
Just literally sit there.
I don't think he put on I don't know if he had a number.
Yeah, so like, no, the Clippers are not a contender. They didn't come into the season a contender. They weren't going to be a contender. But the Clippers are one of those teams that unfortunately live by the "you don't want to play us" rule, because they could give anybody trouble. So you think that you have a puncher's chance to get to a championship, But yeah, at the end of the day, the Clippers are doing the right thing now. You know what I mean? It's never too late to get right. So the Clippers are doing the right. I like the Darius Garland pickup.
Milwaukee's going to follow suit. I think Philly's going to follow suit. I think a lot of teams are going to just start over. I don't know how long the Houston experiment's going to run. We'll see how their playoffs go. I think Cleveland's James Harden experiment won't last long. And you're going to see some real turnover. I'm shooting for a Detroit and Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, and a OKC San Antonio final. And that way people can start kind of looking at how those teams built and then get rid of this.
Well, I think we're starting to see that a little bit, because with the apron, the second apron that we were talking about all last season, I think the trade deadline that we saw yesterday might be what we see going forward, because a lot of these teams, if you actually peel back and look at if you look at the trades that went down, a lot of these moves were made with next season in mind. You know what I mean? So like, teams are already like, hey, we're tanking, but that don't mean we can't get an early start on next year, because I got to wait for these lottery balls, and it ain't guaranteed. We saw what Dallas did last year from number 10. You know what I'm saying? No, the Wizards ain't back, man. They ain't back. Anthony Davis don't play enough for the Wizards to be back. You know what I mean? They might. They don't. No, he was asking me. They don't. Put
on the screen. Who said
that? You know what I'm saying? I'll see. We'll see what the Wizards do in the offseason with that money and all that stuff. And then I'll get back to you at the end of the season. But as we know it right now, and as we sit here right now, they're at best a play-in team next year. You know, like maybe they could get up to 7 and be a host a play-in game. That's the goal. Host the play-in.
It's the same thing, and we'll get out of here, obviously. But it's the same thing people said when the ball dropped for Dallas and they got Cooper Flag. It was like Dallas is going to be blah, 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 blah. I'm like, bro, Kyrie is currently injured. AD stays injured. Klay Thompson is not the same player he used to be, and Cooper Flag is a rookie. Calm down. There's no evidence. There's no logical reason to think that Dallas, because they got the number 1 pick, was going to be this formidable opponent in 2025, 2026. I don't know why everybody jumped off the building with no parachutes, dying on this hill. It never made any sense to me. Washington's going to be your same boat. It's not going to work. I hate to be pessimistic. I'm just a logical thinker. It doesn't make any sense for two guys who are
it's all
injured.
Good, man. All
one doesn't play
right
defense and he's undersized, and then the other one literally gets injured from head to toe.
All you doing right now is taking. All you doing is taking out your Falcon trauma on me, and I don't have to take this. I'm going home.
Take it from me. Take it from me. I've watched this dance. I've seen this movie. I know the ending.
Yeah. All right.
You have fun with that DC traffic.
Well, on
just
that
to be
note,
disappointed.
We will be back on Tuesday, with Super Bowl reaction, some more NBA. And guess what? We getting a little bit closer. It might be time to start talking some bubble. March is coming. Don't be late. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your support. He is the one and only, world famous, world renowned, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem. Once the Nets, he's cool, calm, and collected. He is Mr. Logic. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo is your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Tiafimo still ducking. You know what I'm saying? I am 2-5. And by the way, happy Black History Month. You know what I'm saying? Ignore those videos. You know what I'm talking about. That's all I'm going to say. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. We love y'all. So. Bang. And why my music ain't...
Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only.